Hello, I'm Warren Leach, and I'm the program leader of BA Fashion Design at Istituto Marangoni, Paris. And I worked with the students building their collections, some using Rino Mastrotto leather this year. I'd say primarily, using leather to construct garments isn't the easiest route to take. It has its own challenges. It also has its own rewards, of course. So it really encouraged the students to think about using leather from the beginning, the inception of their design. So rather than drafting something which could be made in cotton or silk, they began the design process thinking about using leather, the durability of leather, the texture of leather, the uses of leather, as a means to develop a garment, using leather as the heart of that design process. So it helped in terms of concept because it made them think about how leather could be incorporated into their general idea, their merchandising plan for their collection. And then technically, it also challenged them to think about how they can use leather, different types of stitching, joining different grades of leather together, suede and leather, joining those. It really challenged them to think about the fabrication of their garments, how to work leather in a way when it's shaped against the body. Primarily, the collaboration began from excellence meeting excellence, education meeting industry, and a really beautiful collaboration grew between Istituto Marangoni Paris and Rino Mastrotto. The exchange was very natural from the beginning, and building knowledge, building connection between what the students are learning and what's happening in the industry is very important for us. Introducing students to new ways of producing fabrics, new ways of using fabrics, and with an industry leader like Rino Mastrotto, it made perfect sense for us to collaborate. And as you can see from the outcomes, from the students' work in the fashion show, the collaboration grew very beautifully. Generally, the fashion industry is very aligned with the use of leather, and it's something which we encourage our students to think about because when they enter the world of work professionally, they tend to work for big fashion houses or established designers who use leather in all of their avenues, whether it's in accessories, footwear, or on garments. So teaching students to use leather is very important for that, primarily for this reason. Then you also think about the future of the planet and sustainability. Many students are using leather as an alternative to using faux leather or plastics or leather alternatives. And actually in the long run, when we think about students using leather in innovative ways, it becomes a much more sustainable process, which we think is very important in terms of design. Also, using leather is very important for students because you have to think about the durability, the uses, the ability to shape leather on the body, the ability to translate leather into different ways, whether it's through manipulation, painting, laser cutting, manipulating the leather. You can create a whole range of different outcomes using leather specifically, but you think about the durability, the innovation, the sustainable elements of leather. All of that together helps prepare students when they work in a big brand, when they launch their own brand, and when they step into industry. So collaborating with Mastrotto allowed us to do that. So it was a nice way of innovating the students thinking about using leather in their collections. Thinking about the future of fashion is very important for us at Istituto Marangoni Paris. And what we saw this year in the graduate fashion show is students looking at using the future of technologies, generative AI and digital pattern cutting techniques to create their work. But also there was a real interest in looking at traditional handcraft, looking back in the past. So I like this idea of marrying the two ideas together. And when you see how the students worked with Rino Mastrotto leather in their final collections, on the runway in the fashion show, I think you see this balance of the past and the future, innovation and history, craft and developing new technologies. And I think that came together really beautifully in this collaboration.